welcome to my Sunday weekly live stream, show number 11. And thank you very much for tuning in today. I want to introduce you to my digital assistant today, our concierge, Barbie Angel, with 2 L's. Barbie is a great poet, and you might want to check her out on YouTube and her Facebook page as well, Barbie Angel, 2 L's. It's a beautiful day here in Asheville, North Carolina. I hope it is wherever you are too. Let's get off to the races.
Well, he came to our town for maybe an hour. The streets, they got swept and they planted some flowers. Babies he kissed till the people he waved, and he stopped at a Civil War general's grave, and he struck just the right pose, and he hit just the right chord when he spoke of the family and then of the Lord. He addressed the concerns of a common man. He spoke of the glory of this mighty land. He was just the right color, and his smile was fixed, and his wardrobe assembled from a bag full of tricks, and he had gobs of makeup that were caked on his face, starch in his collar, every hair was in place, and his wife stood beside him, and his daughter did too. Behind them, the flag with the red, white, and blue. Balloons from the rafters, they fell to the floor. Oh, happy days are gonna be here once more. And he said all the right words, he quoted Bob Dylan songs. He sounded hip even though he quoted them wrong. And his closets were cleaned and his history revised, so his record would be spotless in most people's eyes. And he could sell you a war, he could revoke your rights and still come off as your friend in the camera lights. And he'll run negative ads if he has to win. He'll go back on his word and he will shed his old skin. Not touched by this guy in the least. He was no savior, I think he was the beast. And I have to admit, they staged a good show. It was all reminiscent of 4 years ago, when he came to our town for maybe an hour. The streets, they got swept and they planted some flowers. Babies he kissed to the people he waved, and he stopped at a Civil War general's grave. And after an hour, they whisked him away. Things went back to normal, but it took 2 or 3 days. The homeless returned to living outside, and the flowers that they planted, they all wilted and died. Yes, he came to our town for maybe an hour. The streets, they got swept and they planted some flowers.
So I frequently get asked whether I wrote that about a Republican or a Democrat. And the answer is yes, of course it is. Here's a very old song from my first album, Finger Painter's Murals. It's a song that you may never have heard me play before. It's called Unbridled Reins.
Lived an old horse trainer who used to work for the man who owned about 25 stables and 25 pieces of land. His name was Mr. Hardy. The trainer's name was Gus. And Hardy's business was racing, and he owned the 2 of us. Well, now Gus, he hated racing. It was the horses that he loved. And every time Mr. Hardy would come around, he'd pretend like he was being tough. He called him Heartless Hardy, cussed them underneath his breath for the breeding of the horses and the running them to death. Oh, my father, he was famous, and he won the Triple Crown. Mama won 5 ribbons in a horse show back in town. And I sold for $1 million on the day I was born. I was gonna be a champion. Well, Mr. Hardy was sure. So they pumped me up one morning with something those officials would never detect. And I remember that cold steel needle spending a lifetime in my neck. I never knew that race was fixed, only that I was supposed to win. And the jockey was tall in his saddle, and his breath was stinking of gin. And he pushed me a little too hard. I stumbled and I shattered my leg. Mr. Hardy called in a specialist who said I'd never race again. Said my promise, it was broken. Mr. Hardy, sipping on champagne, ordered me out of my misery, but I was too numb to feel any pain. Oh, my father, he was famous, he won the Triple Crown. Mama won 5 ribbons in a horse show back in town. And I sold for $1 million on the day I was born. I was gonna be a champion. Mr. Hardy was sure. Well, they led me out to the stables where that mercy killing would be done. And I was thinking about what might have been and all that I might have won. Thinking about being put out to pasture when my time might have finally come. And remembering how before I could walk, they were teaching me how to run. And so I saw they were going to shoot me, and I don't know why they would. Couldn't run any more races, so I guess that made me no good. Mr. Hardy handed Gus the rifle. Gussie cried and he stroked my mane. That was the last thing I remember before Gus unbridled my reins. Oh, my father, he was famous, and he won the Triple Crown. Mama won 5 ribbons in a horse show back in town. And I sold for $1 million on the day I was born. And I was gonna be a champion. Mr. Hardy was sure.
It's hard to believe that this is the 11th week I've been live streaming. It doesn't seem that long. Of course, the shutdown seems like it's been forever, but oh well. As most of you know, I have talked about the Lamb's Retreat for Songwriters in Harbor Springs, Michigan many times, and the fact that I've taught up there a bunch and attended the retreat several times as well. Everybody there is given a songwriting assignment, unique from everybody else's, and oftentimes tailor-made, especially for them. And I've had several of these songs end up on albums that I've written, probably 5 of them, but this one here is my favorite. And before I sing it, I just have to mention what it was about, the premise. I was supposed to write a song swearing off of the manic pixie dream girl. Okay, that I'm sure conjures up an image in your mind, the manic pixie dream girl.
Used to fall for girls who smoked, drank, and told off-color jokes, who had that certain kind of look. Just a nose ring was all it took. The ones that had that certain spunk, kinda girlish, kinda punk. The girls you make excuses for as you lead them out the door. I used to like them fancy-free, the way they would pretend to be. They wore all black, they had long hair, they acted like they didn't care. Full of beans, a great big blur. I used to fall for girls like her. They couldn't possibly all be true. 500 words when 10 would do. For girls like that who'd work the mic and play the strat, whose stomachs were completely flat. They would complain that they were fat. The kind of girls I would pursue, I made them up, they became true. I think I married one or two. They made me tea and they wrote haiku. I was always drawn to the manic kind who would say whatever was on their minds. Girls like that sunk all my ships carelessly with their loose lips. And yet for one enchanted kiss, I'd betray myself for girls like this. Wild-eyed, star tattoo, little crazy were a few. Girls like those, have their charms, red flags and loud alarms. I loved it when they were in my arms, and I swear my love was true. Now it takes a little more to turn me on than it did before. Certain things I can't ignore, certain things I do. Shirts and drawstring pants, bang on drums, and don't eat meat, walk around in their bare feet. With girls like that, it wouldn't last, not even 1/2 minute past. The moment that the clock struck 12, they'd leave me dancing with myself. Opposites at times attract, like chemicals, they can react. Girls who once appealed to me now don't seem so real to me. Girls like those, they have their charms, red flags and loud alarms. I loved it when they were in my arms, and I swear my love was true. Well, now it takes a little more to turn me on than it did before. Certain things I can't ignore, certain things I do.
I keep wanting to say thank you at the end of every song, because I imagine you're applauding. I hope you are. I got to do a live show the other night. with a real audience. It was the very last one on my calendar, and that was interesting. I had to ask everybody to please do their best impersonation of a camera lens, make me feel comfortable, because I've grown quite used to this, actually. So I want to tell you a little story here in this next song. I used to go over to Ireland quite a bit to play over the years, and I was doing a show in County Leitrim, a little town called Carrick-on-Shannon. I don't remember the name of the pub, but at the end of the night, the owner poured a pint of Guinness for me and one for himself, and we sat down and had a little chat, wind down after the gig, and I thought, we might stick around, have a couple of pints, and that wasn't the case. After just a few sips, in 5 minutes maybe, he told me to drink up because he needed to close his place down so I could go home, get a good night's sleep, and open up the next morning. So I asked him what time he opened his pub at, and he said 9:30, and I figure anybody that opens a pub at 9:30 in the morning really ought to have a song written about them. So this is called the 9:30 Pint.
Well, it's not so big a town, and I know all of the locals. Some come in to read newspapers, some forget their bifocals. Strangers find a home here, trust me, I have seen all kinds. 9:30 in the morning is when I start pouring pints. The 9:30 pint can set the morning right for the one who just got off after working all the night. Yes, he'll stop along the way as he makes his journey home. Before he pulls the curtains close, disconnects the phone. The 9:30 pint, whoever wanders in, well, it's not for me to wonder or ask where they might have been. If he passed out in the bushes, or if he caught a couple winks, well, I don't make it my business to know why they need a drink. The 9:30 pint, perhaps to start a person's day. Who am I to judge? Who am I to say? 'Cause if they leave here happier than when they first come in, I'll be here tomorrow morning should the punter call again. The 9:30 pint is one I'm glad to pour, 'cause I'm grateful for the business comes in through the door. So what are you having, sir? What's it gonna be? I can tell you're not a local, you from across the sea. So before you rush to judgment and condemn a decent man, allow me to introduce myself, offer you my hand. I'm just your friendly publican, you're very welcome here. I open at 9:30, you don't have to drink beer.
I'm going to stay in Ireland for another song here. Just outside of the town of Skibbereen, in the west part of County Cork, is a cemetery called Abbey Strury Cemetery. And there's a mass grave there with approximately 10,000 people were buried during the famine in the 1840s. And people were dying in such horrible numbers that there just was no possibility of giving proper burials. And everybody was very poor as well, so they couldn't afford them. A little boy by the name of Tom Guerin was presumed to be dead, and he was buried in this mass grave. And 2 or 3 days later, when the grave diggers were trying to make room for more corpses, their shovels struck Tom Guerin's knees, and they heard him cry out, and they realized somebody was still alive in there, and they saved him. And Tom Guerin grew up to become quite a beloved character in those parts of West County, Cork. He became a bard, and back then, the role of the bard was quite significant in society. He was the news teller. He would go around and make up poetry, just like the troubadours made up songs, with the news of the day. And he would go town to town, show up on market day, and he would do his thing like a street musician would do. But he was revered for it. And I got a chance to speak with somebody whose grandmother actually knew Tom Guerin. And she told me that he would have loved this song, which made me very happy to know. So I'd like to sing this song for my friend Terry Kearney. I don't know that she would be watching this today, but she and Philip and a couple other fantastic people run the Skibbereen Heritage Center in Skibbereen. And if you are ever there in the west part of County Cork, it's one of the tremendous must-sees on the tourist trail. Well, I shouldn't even say on the tourist trail, because everybody should visit the Skibbereen Heritage Center. So this is called New Shoes for Tom Guerin, because all Tom Guerin ever wanted for his wanderings and news tellings was a brand new pair of shoes from the county council. It took 20 years to get them, but he finally did.
For one pair of shoes, I wander the countryside spreading the news. Travel Rosscarbery and all of West Cork. Well, some head to Boston and others New York. I lived in the poorhouse, I slept on the floor. There was room to sit down, but not an inch more. The people who died were carried away without ceremony and without delay. Starvation was sweeping the land. On my little shoulder it lay its cold hand. My mother, she begged for a coffin for me. They all thought I died when I was only 3, but the gravedigger's shovel plunged in the dirt. It struck me so hard it must have hurt. Though some say I moaned and some say I screamed, all agreed I wasn't as dead as I seemed. Now I roam all the world, admire each scene, tax on the ratepayers I've never been. I only appeal to you now for a pair of brogues, and I'll vanish again into air. Well, not so many people get lowered down twice. I don't recommend it, just once should suffice. I'm the boy who was buried and dug up alive, the poet, the genius, the one who survived. And I wrote for the dead in the year 48, when a grave at the Abbey had been near my fate. Since then, for subsistence, I've done all my best. The one shoe points eastward and the other points west. I roam all the world, admire each scene. A tax on the ratepayers I've never been. I only appeal to you now for a pair of brogues and I'll vanish again in the air. Yes, I only appeal to you now for a pair of brogues and I'll vanish again into air.
So now would probably be a good time to mention the fact that I have digital tip jars available if you're so inclined to want to contribute. This and all of my other live streams are a pay what you want, strictly pay what you want basis. I never insist on a ticket price. And if you can't afford to pay anything, that's absolutely fine. I want you to be able to be here anyway. But if you can afford something, I would really appreciate anything that you could contribute. These live streams are my only means of making a living these days. Also, I've got a page on patreon.com, and all of the URLs that I'm mentioning now, the links to them, you can find them directly below the window you're watching this video in on YouTube. They're in the description of the video, and all you need to do is click on those words that say show more, and it will expand that, and you'll see all the various links, because YouTube does not allow us, for some funny reason, to put them in as comments in the chat window, and they're very important to me. Patreon is a way where you can support me on a monthly basis for any amount that you care to, even as low as $1 a month. And in exchange for that, I post videos of songs or brand new songs before I let anybody else hear them. Maybe lyrics in progress, stories and photographs I wouldn't share elsewhere. This past week, I had 2 different Zoom hangouts with my patrons, and where people can ask questions or we just chat. And so I try to offer things that will make it interesting and worthwhile to support me. But the great part about it is that it gives me a fixed amount every month that I can count on. And that's, in these days of total insecurity, that's a really nice thing to have. So if you'd consider that, I'd be grateful. You can also purchase CDs directly from chuckbrodsky.com. And if you're interested in digital downloads, you can get them from bandcamp.com. And they are strictly pay what you want. And if you can't afford to pay anything, it's okay if you just help yourself to those downloads. But again, all of these links are just below the video window you're watching right now in the description. So between the video window and the comments below. If you have your this video expanded to full screen, you'll need to collapse it a little bit so that you can find that information. But it's there. I'm going to switch instruments real quick. As with all of my other songs I've been singing on the piano the last few weeks, they are guitar songs. Written on guitar, normally played on guitar. But I mess around with them during the week and until I actually write some piano songs. See what we can, which ones I can make come alive on the piano. And this one I was fooling around with this week. And it's a new song anyway. But you may have heard me do it on guitar.
After 3 or 4 tries, I poked out his eyes. That's how I got him to see. To get him to hear, I screamed in his ear. I gave him the 3rd degree. I sharply berated him. I told him I hated him. wasn't very kind. I shouted and cussed until I won his trust. That's how I changed his mind. Well, I shunned him, ignored him, I wouldn't look toward him, I only would give him my back. I accused him of lies, I would not compromise, I erased him after the fact. I was abrupt, I would often interrupt, we were volatile when combined. And in stating my case, I blew up in his face. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. Blamed him, shamed him, insulted and inflamed him. That's how I changed his mind. Now this man was an ass. I was gonna let him pass, let him take a wide berth of me. But I was right and he was wrong, like I was telling him all along, trying to just get him to see. But he's a this and I'm a that, so we couldn't have a chat of the friendly and civilized kind. Round after round, just ground him down. That's how I changed his mind. So I stomped on his toes and I punched him in the nose, using irony. So sure of the truth, I knocked out his tooth and I kicked him twice in the knee. I won over his heart with a poisonous dart, and you should have seen me unwind, being overly cruel and with ridicule. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. I blamed him, shamed him, insulted and inflamed him. That's how I changed his mind. And so I called him a fool, challenged him to a duel, threw my white glove in his face. 20 paces and I shot, and I must have hit the spot. Anyway, that's how I pleaded my case. Well, I won in the end, after making him bend. After all, the papers were signed. In the end, I won, yeah, that's how it was done. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. Blamed him, shamed him, insulted and inflamed him. That's how I changed his mind. 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 That's how I changed his mind.
So here's another song that you probably have never heard me sing live. It's another old one. It's a song that's on my first Baseball Ballads album, and it's about two announcers that I grew up listening to as a kid, and then still as an adult, actually. Their names were Harry Callis and Richie Ashburn, otherwise known as Harry and Whitey, or Whitey and Harry. Whitey being Richie Ashburn, Harry being Harry Callis, obviously. And every Phillies game I ever listened to as a kid and on into my 20s was broadcast by these same two guys. And I moved away to the West Coast when I was 21. But every time I would come back, anywhere on the eastern third of the country, you could pick up the station the Phillies broadcast on. Very powerful station. I have picked them up as far away as Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Dallas, Texas, and all points in between. And so when I was considering moving to North Carolina, this was a big issue for me, whether or not I could pick up Phillies games on my car radio. I knew I couldn't get them on the home stereo, but, the car stereo, you can often pick up really far away signals. And so I was in Asheville before I committed to moving here. And on a night with a Phillies game, I put on the radio, make sure I could get it. And sure enough, I heard those two voices, Richie Ashburn and Harry Callis. And I thought, okay, I can live here. This was before you could get the MLB.TV and watch those games. So, Richie Ashburn passed away. Harry Callis has two now, but Richie Ashburn passed away first, maybe 10 years before Harry did. And I listened to my very first Phillies broadcast where it was only Harry and not Whitey. And that made me write this song. I also happened to be in Philadelphia at the time, and I was able to go to the great memorial that they had for Richie Ashburn. They had his casket lay in state, and many thousands of people filed past it that day, like I did. So this is called Whitey and Harry.
Moonlight on the mountain, North Carolina, Tulane. And I'm trying to find a ball game, no matter how bad the reception. Hey, Whitey Man, I miss you. When I listen to the Phillies, and there's Harry going on without you. Good old Harry. Radio under my pillow used to keep me up on school nights. Games from the West Coast, they wouldn't start before 11. Hey, Whitey Man, I miss you. When I listen to the Phillies, and there's Harry going on without you. For the first time since I was 7. And we wore red, the thousands of us had come to say goodbye and pay our last respects. This tough town really loved you, and I saw grown men who wept. Bats and spikes and flowers made a shrine around your casket, and I signed in the guest book as the line filed past it. Hey, Whitey Man, I miss you. when I listen to the Phillies. There's Harry going on without you. Good old Harry.
Well, the Philadelphia Phillies made a documentary, a really awesome documentary about Richie Ashburn and his life. I think it's called The Life and Time. Well, I can't even remember the actual name. I should have written it down. But they included that song. And in the bonus DVD, they also included a rather lengthy interview with me. That was fun. I think there's even a little excerpt from that interview in the main show. I think it's called Richie Ashburn: A Baseball Life. And I got to meet Harry, and I found out from Harry Callis's wife that not only had he heard that song, but he loved that song. So that meant the world to me. I want to sing this song for all my friends. I have lots of them. It's funny because I was a real latecomer to the Facebook party. I wanted nothing to do with it for the longest time. I even tried to see if I could get the domain name Shut Your Facebook, but it was taken. But most of you watching today are Facebook friends of mine, and Facebook has proven to be very valuable and a lot of fun. And in these times, one of our only ways of staying connected. So I have currently just under 5,000 friends. It fluctuates. Sometimes I will be at my limit, 5,000. That's the most you can have. And then sometimes people pass away or unfriend me, and so it opens up some opportunities for new friends. So if you're not one of my Facebook friends and you send me a friend request and it tells you that I can't accept any more friends, just try in a day or two later, and there might be a space there. Speaking of social media, though, if you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, it'd be very easy to do, and then you'll get a notification every time I'm about to go live or anytime I post a new video, and that's just below the screen you're watching, and the little subscribe button. I'd love to know where you're watching from today. If you could put that in the chat window, that'd be nice. See if there's any other information. Yeah, a couple other things I want to tell you about. I'm available to book for private concerts. They can be socially distanced live in-person concerts if you live within a couple hours of Asheville. They can be over Zoom for as many of your friends and family as you want. Those are a lot of fun. I've done several of them. I also can offer you guitar lessons and songwriting lessons or critiques over Zoom. So if that interests you, please get in touch with me. And this is from my Facebook friends.
Sometimes I sit here in the dark, just the light of the screen. Maybe I don't get dressed, have a little more caffeine. Sometimes I stay up late, time goes by, I say what's on my mind, and I hope for a reply. I never stay away long, I start missing all my friends. I post my photographs, use my very best lens. Sometimes the comments never come, sometimes I sit and I wait. Oh, won't you please like me? Says someone who can relate. Nobody ever writes me letters, I don't know why I have a phone. I I got a couple thousand friends now. I don't feel so alone. Sometimes I drop them a line. Sometimes they think of me too. They want to know if I'm okay in just a sentence or two. And I know who cooked Italian. I know who got new shoes. I know who had to pull a tranny, who's away on a cruise. I know who got that dreaded letter. I know who just switched shampoos. I know who's using smiley faces. And I know who's got the blues. I know who likes what. I know who's friends with who. I know what everybody just did, what they're planning to do. I know who just had a birthday. I know it rained in Sarasota for a little while and then it stopped. I found a lot of old classmates, people I once knew. Everybody went their own ways, as people these days will do. Some of them got wealthy, some are living hand to mouth. Some of them are up north still. Some have settled in the south. All of my old flames got married. Some they got divorced. And of the ones who have fallen, some never got back on the horse. And the ones who did have children, none of them look like me. I hope that everybody's happy. I hope that everybody's free. I know who likes what. Know who's friends with who. I know what everybody just did, what they're planning to do. I know who just lost their father. I know who just lost their job. I know it rained in Sarasota for a little while and then it stopped. Prayers for my friend in Uganda, my friends in Israel and Iran, Nova Scotia, Ireland and Denmark, Lithuania and Japan. Well, I hope someday to meet them, their place or mine. But for now it makes me happy when I see him here online. And I know who got a puppy. I know whose rose bushes died. And the ones who own ponies, sometimes I tell them I can ride. You know, I flirted with some women these days, how could you tell? Some of them could have been men. And then there was the time when Elvis asked if he could be my friend. I know who likes what, know who's friends with who. I know what everybody just did, what they're planning to do. I know who's fighting cancer. Sometimes I just start to sob. I know it rains in Sarasota for a little while and then it stops. I know it rains in Sarasota for a little while and then it stops. I know it rains in Sarasota for a little while and then it stops.
What's next? Okay. Here's another one that you probably are not familiar with. I certainly haven't played it live in a very long time. It's from my album, Last of the Old Time. I think. Could be off our radio. But I wrote it after getting my hair cut years ago. My hair cutter here in town. She told me when I showed up that she had just gotten done dressing up her best friend for her best friend's funeral. And I thought to myself, what a powerful expression of love that was as a final gesture. She had only just done that the same morning, and so she was still quite emotional and raw in telling me about it, and I was very touched, and I went home and I wrote the song, and it's called How Beautiful She Looks.
How beautiful she looks. I heard people say her hair is majestic and perfect that way. And oh, what a looker she was in her day. Well, that's how she'll be remembered. Well, she picked out the casket, the music, the preacher, the dress she would wear, and the highlights to feature, the words on her headstone and the silk underneath her. And I promised I'd make her up pretty. Well, her head in my hands, they were trembling so. This hair that I held combed, that would never more grow. I put a bow at the end of the braid, keeping the promise I'd made. How beautiful she looks. I heard people say her hair is majestic and perfect that way. And oh, what a looker she was in her day. Well, that's how she'll be remembered. Oh, why was she taken so young in this way? I doubt if I learn before my dying day. Well, who'll do my hair? Who'll make up my face? A stranger or someone who knew me? How beautiful she looks. I heard people say her hair is majestic and perfect that way. And oh, what a looker she was in her day. That's how she'll be remembered.
This next song is off of my album called Subtotal Eclipse. Just like to mention again that there are digital tip jars if you are so inclined to want to contribute something. And even though YouTube won't allow us to put them in the chat window to the right hand side of the video screen, I did put them in the description of this show just below the video window. And all you need to do is click on those words that say show more, and you will get the links for the various tip jars and the places that you can pick up my recordings and my Patreon site as well if you're interested in supporting me.
was obsolete. The hair had gone out of fashion, and they danced to a different beat. But you stubbornly resisted, determined not to bend. And the world as you once knew it, it had come to an end. The world as you once knew it had a much less hectic pace. When people used to meet in public, they'd sit face to face. But now we type an instant message and we stare into a screen. The world as you once knew it had been replaced by a machine. Now the world as you once knew it, you can read about in books, or visit the museums and walk around and take a look at the relics and the fossils and the trinkets in the stores. The world as you once knew it, come and see the dinosaurs. The world as you once knew it, she fetched a real good price. The bidding done in secret, and some souls were traded twice. And now blessed are the greedy, and cursed are the poor. And the world as you once knew it, she's just another whore. The world as you once knew it spun out of control. It was gravity that did it, the lure of all that gold. And now there's nothing like nostalgia to make you feel bereft of the world as you once knew it. But that's all that you've got left. The world as you once knew it, we once had a home. Sometimes you think you see it wherever you may roam. The faces and the places, they form one big collage of the world as you once knew it, but it's only a mirage. Now the world as you once knew it, you hear it when she talks, and it's in the way she looks at you, and it's in the way she walks. So pity the poor wretched soul who cannot recognize the world as he once knew it when he sees it in her eyes.
Here's another old song. There was a reason for writing this one. Many years ago, this was close to 23 years ago, I suppose, when I wrote this song. And I had seen a photograph in the Asheville Citizen-Times, our local newspaper here. It was some kind of a political rally. I couldn't tell you what it was for anymore. But somebody was wearing one of those sandwich board signs where they stand in the middle. There's a front side, a back side, and the front side of it said, "Thank God for AIDS." Awfully glad I couldn't see what was on the back side. But it got me thinking. And sometimes that leads to songs. Worship our gods, and we buy souvenirs, admire our trinkets in front of our mirrors. A hat with a cross, shirt with a star,
the names of our teams tattooed on our arms. We're given our gods at the moment of birth, the gods of our fathers and all others be cursed. At the earliest age, we memorize verse, the gospel as it is written. We swear at our gods, we curse our rotten luck from the side of the road when we self-destruct. We ask them to save us and to get us unstuck from the muck we get ourselves into. Temples of stained glass and hand-cut stones, we built for our gods such magnificent homes. We visit sometimes and we don't stay long, not when the football games are on. We make deals with our gods to win back what we've lost, but in our pants pockets our fingers are crossed. Lord, give us this day, make this prosperous times, and help us to cover our crimes. We go to the seers, we say, show us the script that our gods have left for us, stashed in some crypt. Oh, secrets, they say, what has never been told, yours for a pile of your gold. We kill for our gods, we wage holy wars, assassinate presidents and burn down bookstores, massacre children to settle old scores, yelling, our gods are great. So our gods must be proud of the blood on our hands and the way we go conquering far, far away lands. In the names of our gods, let the glory be theirs. Just let the spoils and the plunders be ours. We serve our gods in such humorless ways. Rituals we do, laws we obey. Sometimes in between we pray, but how often do we say, I love you? I love you. I love you.
I love you. So I'm gonna sing another song that was a songwriting assignment at Lamb's Retreat in Harbor Springs, Michigan. It is going to happen this November. I won't be able to go, but if it's something that might interest you, I could not recommend it more highly. And they are going to be observing social distancing guidelines. So if you're interested, just look up Lamb's Retreat for Songwriters. So the premise of this assignment was I was supposed to write a song about how I was in some kind of a formal dinner dance setting and a woman tapped me on the shoulder from behind and asked if I'd care to dance. I don't dance. And there's a reason for that. It's because I have 3 left feet.
There was one certain girl I was hoping to meet. Would have asked her to dance, but from my 2 left feet, she wasn't sitting with anyone else. I was just sitting there all by myself. I said, I didn't dance, I had 2 left feet. To this other girl standing over me in my seat. Besides, it really wasn't my kind of beat. This wasn't the girl I was hoping to meet. I wasn't attractive, not on first glance. She wouldn't go away, I didn't want to dance. She lifted me up to my 2 left feet. My eyes went for the girl dash and make a break for the door. She pulled me out there onto the dance floor. The band started in on an old-fashioned waltz. She didn't lead, and so I did by default. And it was awkward enough, those very first steps. I stepped on her right toes and then on her left. Evading her eyes, I tried to be discreet, keeping tabs on the girl I was hoping to meet. Put her hand on my waist, it made me relax. She moved it up to the small of my back. Touching a nerve, I shot her a glance. She said, I thought you told me that you couldn't dance. She pointed down at my right foot, gone to all the right places, wherever I'd put it. She followed me when I spun her around, when I dipped her all the way down. The way her hair fell back and hung to the floor, the way we locked eyes then and forevermore. The thing about beauty, and I don't know why, sometimes you don't see it till it pokes you in the eye. But one song ended and another began. We exchanged names and applauded the band. I guess I never did let go of her hand. For the next couple hours we danced and we danced, and now we go out dancing every Saturday night. She dresses up, she's quite a sight. This was the girl I didn't want to meet. That was the guy with the two left feet.
Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for spending your Sunday afternoon with me. I appreciate it. I'll be back next week for episode number 12. I'm going to finish off today with my oldest song. Since I've been playing it on piano lately, I thought I'll do a change of pace and play it on guitar. I want to dedicate this song to the two biggest angels in my life, my mom and my dad. And once again, if you're inclined to want to throw something in the digital tip jars today, I would very much appreciate it. And you can find all of that information directly under the window you're watching this video, and just click on Show More, and it has all the links. Also, when the video ends today and it goes to that still screen, it has all of those links up there as well. Y'all stay safe, stay well, and hope you can tune in next week as well.
Well, I hope I see you later, 'cause it's time for me to go. That's my ride, just pulled over, and it sure was good to know you. Just go answer your calling, go and fill somebody's cup. And if you see an angel falling, won't you stop and help them up? We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going, and we show each other signs. stumble. And sometimes you'll just lie down. And sometimes you'll get lonely with all these people around. You might shiver when the wind blows, and you might get blown away. You might lose a little color. You might lose a little faith. We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going, and we show each other signs. So thank you for the water. Thought I was gonna die out here in the desert, but you quenched my thirst. Let's break a little bread together. Got a little manna. It was a gift. Someone who was passing by and offered me a lift. We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. Keep each other going, and we show each other signs.
Stay safe. Stay well. Hope to see you next week. Thank you.